Ima, thank you. So client requirements is the first task. Okay, so we have got the documents and we have understood exactly what client want. We are happy with the client requirements. What's next? Testing. But this testing should be a properly designed, right? First, understanding the client requirements. We have understood the client requirements. Now everything is fine. Yes. Next. So what we need to do is the next task. We need to identify the test scenarios. We need to identify the test scenarios. So what are these test scenarios? These test scenarios are nothing but major test conditions. Major test conditions. Or else let me explain what are exactly this major test condition is. A group of similar activities under one platform, we'll call it as a scenario. If, let's assume that you are trying to test one Gmail application. Gmail. Okay. Gmail login you are trying to test. Gmail login is a scenario. So for that, we need to test an application with valid data, with invalid data, right? So Gmail login is a scenario and testing it with the different ways are nothing but test cases. Or else let me make it simple. A group of same activities.
If I may ask a question,
So here,
please.
yes, please.
You talked about Gmail application, how to validate
Mm, mm.
valid and
And
invalid
invalid.
data.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Go ahead with your question.
Yeah, I did not actually hear this. I was asking about the valid and
Okay, okay.
invalid
So
data.
just leave about the Gmail. Just we'll discuss about the scenario. So what exactly the test scenario is? That is what I'm trying to discuss. Okay. So if you have a look on this figure here, have lot of steps like entering the name, first name, selecting a username and creating the password, confirming your password. So all these are the steps, right? So I may perform 10 steps here, but this 10 steps comes under only one scenario, that is creating a Google account scenario, right? A group of activities. Here even I need to test this creating an Google account with valid data and with invalid data and with some other few other conditions that we'll be discussing as we move in. So completely we need to test this 3 to 4 times with the different scenarios, right? So that falls under the scenario, a group of activities. Clear? So creating a Google account is only one activity. That activity we are doing it multiple times with valid data, with invalid data by leaving the mandatory fields, right? So those falls under test scenario. Test scenario, a major test condition, right? That is what the major test condition. So that will be splitted into test cases for that. Clear? Yes. The next one is test case. So first you need to understand the client requirement and then we need to split them into scenario. The reason behind splitting a scenario is easy of use. Or else if I want to test all the links in this page, only the links. That's it. So that is known as the links scenario. If I want to test only the images in this page, so that is known as images scenario. If I want to check any spell mistakes or something like that in this page, that is called UI, user interface scenario. Clear? A group of activities basically known as scenario, as simple as that. Now, the scenarios further splitted and from that scenarios we'll be discussing something called test cases, a very, very important aspect of the testing. Test cases. So first, identifying the client requirements or understanding the client requirements. Next, identifying the test scenarios. Next, writing the test cases. Yesterday we have discussed test case is nothing but a document with an expected result. After writing the test cases, when application is ready, we need to execute the test cases on the end application. Executing test cases on the end application. While executing it, we'll be observing that whether the application is working according to the client requirements or whether it is deviating. Depending on that, we'll provide the status, whether it is pass or fail. If everything is fine, it's okay. If something has been failed, we'll be reporting it to the developer. The condition is if something fails, we'll report it to the developer. If everything working good, then we'll go ahead with the other testing. So these are the things what we are going to do in the testing process as a QA tester. Now, so in this course also, I'm going to explain you how to read the client requirements, how to write the test scenarios, how to write the test cases, and how to execute them on the end application. Literally the task what you are seeing on the screen. So all these things we are going to see in our class. But before that, before starting directly from the client requirement, let's start from the scratch. Let's discuss actually what is the software. After that, we'll think and we'll discuss how to test it and why to test it. But actually, what is a software? Yes. So let's go ahead with our basic concept as committed. I'm going to start this course from very scratch. So let's have a look on the slide. So general definition, what is a software? A set of instructions or program documented to do a particular task. But the thing is that the software has been categorized into two types: system software and application software. System software and application software. Do anyone have idea on this? System software and application software. In a simpler language, I can say system software is a software which is used by your system. So confused, right? So system software acts like an interface between the system components itself and with the human also, but it is actually makes the interface between the system components. The best example for the system software is drivers. Drivers. Have you heard drivers anytime? So let me explain you. So whenever, I guess everyone here use pen drive, right? So whenever we insert pen drive into a USB port for the first time, it will show up balloon saying that drivers are getting installed. Please wait. Yes. So we have a laptop or desktop. So any device, to that we are inserting a pen drive. Yes. So once we insert a pen drive to that laptop, we are getting a message saying that drivers are getting installed. Once the drivers are get installed, only in that circumstances we can browse the data in the pen drive, right? We can browse the data in the pen drive. So what are these drivers? These drivers are some softwares which communicates your laptop and pen drive. Let's assume that these drivers are not properly installed. Then even we have a data in your pen drive, there is no question we can't access the data in the pen drive. Your system will not recognize that pen drive. Got the point? Yes. Like this, we have sound drivers, LAN drivers, like a lot of drivers we have. This is the best example for system software. This happens, all these things happens internally. And your operating system is also a system software. Not only that, if you have used the PC, I mean to say the old versions of desktops, I mean to say, right now everyone is using laptop. But whenever we used in earlier days, laptop, like whenever we start a laptop, we used to get kick sound, right? After a few seconds, system should system usually use a sound called kick, and the operating system starts loading. So what is that beep sound? So it's called booting. Booting means the operating system loads. So operating system directly doesn't load. The operating system doesn't have an option to load it directly. So it takes the help of some other software. So that software is booting. So this boot helps your operating system to start. Clear? So this booting is also a software. It works internally. So that is also a system software. Literally the software which helps to organize or which helps to work your system. So those type of softwares are nothing but system softwares. Right? Yes. Simple. Now application software, the software is what we are seeing in our daily life. So all those application falls under system softwares. Like rest of falls under application software. I'm sorry for it. So rest of system softwares are known as application softwares. Are known as application softwares. Now, so let's have a look on this. System software. The software provides interface to the system components. Right? Yes. System software also called as BIOS, basic input output system, and the best example is operating systems, and all operating systems, even BIOS is also an example, booting is also an example. The best example is drivers. Now application software, the software which performs operations or functionality based on user inputs is called application software. Or else all the applications what you are seeing in the market now, literally those are known as application software. Like all the application, the go-to-meeting what we are using, it's application software. The online banking transfer, like it's application software. Facebook application. Okay. So like all this software consider as a Gmail, a application software. Your Office, MS Office, a application software. So all this considered as a application software. But this software has been again categorized. This application software has been again categorized as product-based software and project-based software. And even this is very important actually. What exactly the product-based software and project-based software? As the name itself says, product-based software, a software which is developed for the worldwide users depending on the market standards. Like if you take an example of Skype or WhatsApp, let's take an example of Skype. Skype is a product-based software. It is developed for the worldwide users. Like if you consider like why the application is developed, just question it. Why application has been developed? What is the reason behind developing an application? So that will give you an answer like whether it is product based or project based. A product based software is a software which is developed for the worldwide users and who are related to that field they can use it. So this application is generally developed depending on the market standards, right? So if you take an example of Gmail, like we all people here are using Gmail, but have we given any requirement? No, right? See here, there was Yahoo Mail earlier and there was a space for some other mailing server. Gmail has planned it and it has launched its Gmail. Google has planned it and it has launched the Gmail. So no one among us given the requirement. So market needed it and they have developed it. So this type of application, even Skype, TeamViewer, GoToMeeting. So all these types of softwares are nothing but product-based softwares. The softwares which are developed for the worldwide users depending on the market standards. So after that they can distribute it free or they can give it as paid. So that is other story. But which is developed depending on the market standards are known as product-based softwares. Okay. So don't get confused. So we are trying to talk about the testing and why I'm taking these basics. The only thing is that yes, in our coming classes anyways, we are going to see how the testing process happens and how we are going to test an application. But before to that, you need to have a minimum idea on what's going around you and what are the types of applications we have, what are the terminologies what we use in the organization, so that we need to have an idea on. So that is the reason I have taken up from the scratch. Clear? So now let's go ahead once again. So product based softwares are the software which are developed depending on the market standards, and that is for the worldwide users. Project-based software is a software which is developed depending on a specific client requirement. If you take an application of a banking application, Bank of America. So if you take an example of Bank of America application, so why this application has been developed? The only reason is the client needed it, and they have given the requirement to some X company. Company has developed it, and they have given back the application to the client. Yes, it is not for the worldwide users. It is not depending on the market standards. It is limited, or else the reason we are developing that application is specifically for the client requirements, right? So this type of application is basically known as project based, for a specific group of people, for internal use, or depending on a specific criteria. So all these things comes under project based software. Let me give you a best example, or else let me ask you a question here. 6 months back, we have developed an application. We have developed an application for a company in UK, United Kingdom. So let's talk as England. So we have developed a application, and the application details like this. So there is an auditorium in UK, in London actually, auditorium, and this auditorium owner wants to rent out this or lease out this auditorium. So he has came out with a lot of plans like hourly basis, monthly basis, right? So weekly basis, and a lot of with fees and a lot of amenities in it. He has came out with a lot of packages. Okay, so depending on the user, depending on the number of participants, he's going to rent his auditorium. Okay, yeah. So we have developed this application depending on this specific requirements. He has given all the requirements to us. We have developed it, and we have delivered that to the client. Okay, and what type of software it is? Product or project? Product or project?
It's project based.
It is obviously a project
Product.
based. Why? Because it's completely developed depending on this auditorium owner's requirement. The same principle. So whenever application has been developed only for a specific group or only for a client requirements, so that's nothing but the project based. Okay. So this auditorium application is literally a project base. Clear? Yes. Not only this actually, even the companies also has been categorized as product based companies and project based company. I guess you have observed this a lot of times while hunting a job, right? Like whenever you see any notification from the company saying that openings in product based company, openings in project based company. So what does it mean actually? So product based company is a company which has its own applications, and they will test their own application. I mean, they are going to work on their own applications. Like Google is a product based company. It has its own applications, Gmail, Gmaps, right? And many other. So product based company is a company which has its own applications. So those type of companies are called as product based companies. Project based company doesn't have their own applications. They will take the requirement from the client, they will develop it, and again they will give back to the client. So these type of companies are known as product based company. I guess you have heard about Infosys. It's a product based company, right? Accenture, a product based company. So all these companies are basically known as project based company. A company which takes the requirement from the client, which it develops, and it will give back to the client. Okay. So product based company is a company which develops their own application, a company which has its own application, So basically it is called product based company. So whenever any requirement is posted on a product based company, you have searching for a job and went through a notification saying that opening for product based company. Then your next task is that just check in which domain they are and what are the softwares they have in the market and who are their competitors and how far they are good in the market. So definitely if it is a product based company, there are chances that they may ask you few things on the company's products. Clear? Yes. Now let's go ahead and let's discuss a very important one called as software development life cycle, SDLC. Software development life cycle or SDLC. What is this software development life cycle? It's a process. Simple. It's a process to develop an application. I'm saying software development life cycle. It is completely a development process. I guess tester is also a part of it, right? In complete development process, tester is a part of it. Do you agree with that? Yes or no? In complete software development life cycle or else in a development process, we are a part in it, right? As a tester? Obviously, yes. Obviously, yes. So what is this software? So rather than taking up with only the testing parts of why we are dealing with completely development life cycle. See here, as a tester, you need to have idea on all the life cycles. Yes, you may be participating in your testing phase, but still you need to have idea on what's going around you. So that is the reason I have taken up this topic called software development life cycle. What is this? It is just a flow or this is just a design. It's a protocol or set of rules which are defined to develop an application. It's a guideline. It's a process. It's a line to develop an application. Yes, I can say it's a protocol. So why I'm saying protocols? Because it has some set of rules to develop or to define application development process. So whenever we follow these guidelines, whenever we follow this process, then there are high chances that we can reach the goal. Or else simple saying the SDLC is a planning to develop your application. Clear? So what happens if you plan it? So anything. See here, if you plan it, then there are chances that there are chances to reach your goal, right? And if there is no planning, obviously you will fail somewhere in between. As simple as that. Same in process of SDLs in software development also. If you want to develop an application, so first plan it. Yes, if you plan it, there are high chances that we will be reaching our goal. So what is our goal here? To develop an application within given budget, within the given time frame, and that too with quality. These are our goals as a company, right? We need to develop an application within a given cost, time, and with quality. So what is SDLs? It's a process of developing a project to fulfill the client requirements. I can say it's a guideline. It's a rules which define us to develop an application in a systematic approach. It's a planning, right? Yes, it's a planning in a simple ways. So this SDLC do
So
have some phases. Yes, please.
if I might ask, yeah. So the software development
Life cycle.
life cycle, yeah, is simply based on the company's specification on actually what they actually want, which now means we build it based exactly on what they want it to be.
Yes, it may be a company's base, but still it has some set of rules in it, which is coming from ages, like actually, which is well defined to follow that. So here
Okay.
we have some phases in it, and this should be followed by any company and any project. Got the point? Whatever the company it may be and whatever the project you are going to deal with it, these phases should be there. It is an organization level, but still they need to follow the standards. The first, requirement collection, analysis, designing, coding, testing, release and maintenance. So this is your answer for the question. Yes, it's a organization level, and it may not, it may or may not change depending on the project, right? So whatever the project it may be, the primary goal remains the same. So it involves all these phases called requirement collection, analysis, designing, coding, testing, release and maintenance. These are the phases in your SDLC, software development life cycle. In the phases, there are chances that few activities may change depending on the project or depending on the company. But if you generalize it, then these are the standards. These are the phases in your SDLC. Every application should undergo these phases, like requirement collection, analysis, designing, coding, testing, release and maintenance. So where tester is going to participate here? So obviously in a testing phase, right? But still we'll start from requirement collection, and let's see what happens in requirement collection, what happens in analysis, designing, coding, testing, release and maintenance. Now, rather than sticking up with the theory part, so here I'm planning like this. I'm going to explain you what happens in each phase and who is going to participate in the phase and what documents are produced in each phase and how it's useful for the tester. These are the main things what we are concentrating rather than sticking up with basic theory. Like requirement collection. What happens there? Who is going to participate? What documents are going to release and how those documents are helpful for tester. So these are the things what actually we are going to discuss as we move into the subject. Now let's start with requirement collection. For the very first phase of software development lifecycle, requirement collection. So from where we collect requirement, guys? So from where we'll get these requirements? Who will give these requirements? Leave about the testing, just completely a development process, the first stage. Obviously client, right? Client is the one who is going to give us a requirement. He is the one. Client. The first phase. Client requirements, obviously. So requirement collection. We are going to collect the requirement from the client. And who is going to collect? As per the standards, BA is the one who is going to collect the requirement from the client. Business analyst. It's a standard what I am talking about. Major companies, or else again majority of the companies do follow the standards. But some companies may not be. So I'm not sure about that. But I can say 90% of the company do follow the standards, right? If they are following the standards, then BA is the one who is going to take the requirement from the client. So he will interact with the client, he will sit with the client, he will understand the client, he will take the requirement from the client, right? He will have a multiple meetings with the client, and if possible prototypes also been developed, so that I will explain you. But anyways, so this BA will sit with the client and he will take the requirement from the client. So after taking all the requirement from the client, he is going to make that as a document, right? So what are the requirements given by the client? He will document it, as simple as that. Yes. So the documentation itself is known as BRS, Business Requirement Specification, or Customer Requirement Specification, or Client Requirement Specification. So all the requirements what client want, my BA has taken up from the client, and after taking them down, so you need to write that as a documentation, right? See here, every task what we carry out, in the organizations, it should be in a documentation, right? The same thing, whatever the task or whatever the things he has taken from the client, he need to make that as a document. So in this process, he is going to develop a document called BRS, Business Requirement Specification document, where it's completely filled with client requirements. What client want? That's it. Client requirements in the first phase. Okay, so we have taken the requirement from the client. In the next phase, in the requirement analysis phase, system analyst or system architect, system analyst basically will participate, and he is going to develop the functionalities for the requirements what is taken in the BRS. In the BRS, will take the requirements, that requirements further enhanced and turned as functionalities in requirement analysis. And here the system analyst is going to develop a document called functional requirement specification document, or else system requirement specification document, and it's a very important document in a development process. So what is this document literally, and why I'm calling it as an important document? So here first the requirements has been gathered, and in the next phase the functionalities has been developed. Clear? Functionality is what I am talking. So here the requirements in the first phase, client requirements, and in this phase, second phase, functionalities of the application. Clear? So that is done by your system analyst. So what exactly the difference between these two phases, requirement collection and analysis? The requirement collection, it just have what client want. That's it. What he want. What he want. That is given in the requirement collection, and how it is going to work. How? That is given in the requirement analysis. Let me explain you the difference between requirements, which is given in the first phase, and the functionalities in the second phase, right? If I take an example of a banking application, let us have an example of banking application, and in this banking application there is a requirement called bank to bank transfer. Bank to bank transfer. Bank to bank transfer of money. Now, see, bank to bank transfer. This is just a single line of sentence will be mentioned in your BRS document, or else as a client requirement. What is client requirement here? Bank to bank transfer. Just that is what the client requirement, only that is what given in the BRS document. And whenever you come on to the FRS document, or else whenever you come on to the next stage, so this is what the first one, client requirement. What is client requirement? Bank to bank transfer. That is just a simple client requirement. But how this bank to bank transfer happens? Enter username, enter password, click on sign in, log into the application, select the user to whom you want to send the money, enter the money, how much you want to send it, right? And just click on send and give some high security password if the application prompt for you, and just click on send. So this is the process to perform the bank to bank transfer. This is given in the requirements phase. This is given in the second phase, requirement analysis. Literally this is given in the functional requirement document, FRS. So which one is best? So which one is very important from the tester's perspective? BRS or FRS? The first document or second document? Obviously the second document, which has all the functionalities in it. Which has all the functionalities in it. Application behavior is mentioning in the FRS document, or else SRS document, which happens in the phase 2. This is very important. So in the phase 1, we'll collect the requirement from the client, will further enhance them, got it? Will further enhance them, and will properly design it in a systematic approach, and will develop the functionalities of it. So that is nothing but your FRS document, or else that happens in the next phase. As technically speaking, according to the requirements or according to the market standards, system analyst is the one who is going to develop FRS document. But as it's a very important document, guys, system analyst should develop, but as it's a very important which really deals with the functionalities. So even we need to get approval from the client also for the functionalities. So client will also participate. Not only the client, even the BA will also sit here to discuss about the functionalities. Here, next, we'll move on to the design phase. So in this design phase, the system or design architect will participate. And here, graphical user interface documents called a GUI document, the look and feel of an application, prototypes, and database design. Not only the database design, the documents which are related for the developers, like high level document and low level document will be released. So almost this phase has a document which is related to the database developers and the application developers, like high level and low level documents. So for a tester here, we have no much documents here, but in the design phase, the design architecture will develop the documents which are helpful for the development, like high level document and low level documents. We'll be discussing about the documents, but still those documents are related to the developers. Technically speaking, if a HLD or LLD is given to us, even we'll not understand a single line it, because it is not a document which is related to us. Clear? But still, that will be developed in a design phase. It's a complete development process. So that is the reason I'm trying to give you information on each and every phase. In the next phase, the coding. The actual coding happens in the next phase depending on all the documents above. Like by taking help of functional requirement specification, by taking help of high level and low level things, developer starts on coding the application. So once they have done with the coding, once after writing the code, it will be moved on to the separate testing team, and testing team will perform the testing activities on the application. If application is good, fine enough, then it will be released into the market, or else it will be retested once again until a tester is satisfied. Once the tester is satisfied in a testing phase, then it will be released to the market. Yes, once after releasing it, further changes, whatever the changes you want to make, every change falls under maintenance. Every change after that falls under maintenance. Once the application is developed and given to the client, whatever the changes thereafter falls under simple maintenance. Clear? So these are the phases what we have literally. But here still I need to discuss few things in this phase, and I need to show you the documents like how BRS looks like, how FRS look like, and how to get the information from BRS and FRS that anyways we'll be discussing. Like before to that, let me explain you one more topic here, what exactly that happens in between requirement collection and requirement analysis. After taking the requirement from the client, what happens? We'll discuss that. Actually, we have a phase in between here. So my BA has taken the requirement from the client. Okay. Then what we are going to do the very next day is that we start working on the application. No, we have few things to do. Let me take this as an example. So let's assume that I have some automobile company where I produce this two-wheelers, bikes, manufacturing of bikes, two-wheelers or bikes. Now, so we have a requirement from our client. So let's assume that a very famous client, Barack Obama, so he's giving us some requirements to us. Let's assume it. Okay, it is just an example. So he's giving a requirements to us. He's asking for a two-wheeler. So my BA is taking down all the requirements, guys, now. And the client is giving the requirements. The first requirement is he wanted two-wheeler. And the second requirement is all these other requirements. You want a two-wheeler, and that should be black in color. And the third one is we should run at a speed of 100 miles per hour. And the fourth requirement should be, it should be three seating capacity. And the fifth one is it should work with the diesel. So these are the requirements, guys, from the client. So what we do, have taken the requirements. My BA has taken the requirements. Chalo. What is my next task? What I'm going to do next? Anyone? So these are the requirements. My BA has been taken up the requirements. Leave about the software development. In a general scenario, what we do next? Client has approached me and he has given his requirement. He has given his wish. Whatever comes in his mind, he has given that. Okay. So my BA has literally taken up that. What is my next task? What is, as a company, what we are going to do next?
Your system analyst draws up the requirement analysis with the BA.
I'll leave about this technical terms. In a general, what we do? Yes, we analyze it, but what we do again?
Yeah, you're going to ask how it's going to work. I mean, to actually...
The functionality.
No. So is that from the next day, we have taken the requirement. From the next day, we start working on it. Like, I mean to say, we'll take a wrench and we start working on it. Do we start building it? Building the bike?
No.
No. Then?
You have a schedule. You plan on what you want to do.
Yes. So discuss how it works. Right? Obvious.
That is a functionality?
Yes, that is a functionality. And before the functionality, first we need to check whether we can do it or not. Whether it is feasible or not. Whether it is realistic or not. Yes. So whatever comes in a client mind, he has given us a requirement. In some cases, the client requirement may not be a realistic. Client requirements may not be possible to develop. If we take this example, two-wheeler, we can do it. A two-wheeler with a black color, yes, we can do it. 100 miles per hour, yes, we can manage it. But a two-wheeler with a three seating capacity is against a law. That we can't do it. And a diesel version, we can do it. Yes. Now, we'll replace same thing to the client saying that my BA has taken the requirements from you. We can develop it, but if you simple modify few requirements in it, rather than getting up with a three-seater, if you want two-seater, then we can develop the application. If client says, no, I want three-seater, that's it. Then this SDLC closes directly here. It will not move forward. We'll close this here. SDLC stops here. Clear? So here we need to check the feasibility of an application. Yes, whether we can do it or not. If you convert this into a technical terms, if we convert the same thing into a software development process, client has given us a requirement saying that we need to test this application in Selenium. But whenever you look at the resources, everyone are manual testers and QTP experts here. There is no one to automate the test in Selenium. So we'll plan it. So we'll go with the planning. So what happens if I hire a couple of Selenium testers? If it really works for us, then we'll go ahead, right? So hiring and taking the resources, buying the licenses, if it is costly FI to you, then we'll leave the project. Yes or no? So first we'll check whether we can do it or not, whether it is feasible or not. All the client requirements in all the cases may not be developed, right? There may be limitations at our end, or else there may be some limitations at the client's end, right? So we'll be discussing that. So that discussion is nothing but feasibility study. So we are going to check whether this can be really developed or not. If yes, what are the challenges we are going to face, whether we can handle it or not. Yes. So all those things will be evaluated in the feasibility study. That happens once after taking the requirement analysis. Sorry, once after taking the requirement collection and before going to the analysis. This is called feasibility study. And as it's a very important aspect where we decide where the decision happens to intake the project or reject the project. So obviously it's a very, very important phase. Now, so who is going to participate here? Basically, BA will do it, guys. BA should do this feasibility study. But
can I ask a question, please?
sure.
Okay, so after the first stage where the BA takes the
Requirements.
requirements,
Yeah.
before your system analyst starts to draw up the functionalities of
Yes.
application,
Yes.
you have to go through the feasibility study. That's where you
That's
this process you
That's
just explained right now, right?
That's what. After taking the after taking the requirement from the client, yes, before going to the analysis phase, in between we'll do a feasibility study to check whatever given by the client. Can we really produce that? Yes or no? We'll be discussing on that. So that is nothing but the feasibility study. Yes, what you said is 100% true. That is what I'm going to explain. So this is what happens in between these two phases. Okay. In the feasibility study, if the application or requirements passes in feasibility study, then only it will move on to the requirement analysis phase. As simple as that. Clear? So BA should do it, but as it's a very important phase or important part of development process, lot of companies has a group of people to discuss, like one from developer, a senior from tester, like everyone will do. BA stands for business analyst. BA stands for business analyst. Okay, you're the one who takes the requirement from the client and who takes up the business for the company. Okay, now so basically BA should do it, but as it's very important, a group of people will sit together, one from developer, one from tester, like all the senior people will sit together and they will discuss on that. Okay, whether to intake or whether to reject. So this is what the process flow. See here, before taking up the project, we need to make sure that we can develop it. Only in that circumstances our project will be intaken, because it's completely a commercial world, right? So when the company is taking up the challenge to develop an application, they will be going with some service level agreement, some agreements, SLA, service level agreement. So according to these documentations, the completely development process happens. I mean to say, if the company says that I am going to develop an application in 6 months, obviously we need to develop that in a 6 months. Else, client is going to charge us a huge fines, right? And even the company reputation also get effects. So that is the reason while intaking the project, you need to think 110 times. And if you feel that we can do it, only in the circumstances, the company will take the project. Yes? Else, this is the thing, like there are chances if you drop it in between, we need to pay a huge fines to the client and the company reputation also affects. So that is the reason this feasibility study is very important. We check it. If we can do it, we'll go ahead. If we want to make any changes, we'll talk with the client, and possibility is there, we'll make any changes to the requirements, and again we'll go ahead. Clear? So this is what your software development life cycle is. In the next session, we'll be going much more in depth into the software development life cycle, and I will show you those documents what we are discussing, like what is BRS, what is FRS, and how those documents look like, and what is the content in the document, and how that content is useful for a software tester to work with. Clear? Okay, so let me end today's session here, and if you have any